So Milo made a video for me today. It's not for any of you. It is for me. It literally says Yo Inc. in the thumbnail. I clicked on it. I haven't watched it yet, but I did comment on it.
Hi guys, in today's no nonsense news.
And I said, I did make it. I said, your thumbnail says Yo Inc. So I thought I would say hi back. Apparently 330 people thought that was funny. I did. But I figured we should watch this one. The real reason why I actually want to watch this is Treyarch taking a fan's work is interesting. And then the other thing is I want to hear what he has to say about the forced exfil after 5 hours of zombies. I'll give you my take on it when we get to that point, but
update, we've got a really weird story of Treyarch putting a fan's art in the game, but they're not crediting them, but it's kind of valid. It's very strange. And we're also going to be talking about a secret second patch that they added to the game last night, which changed the movement and a couple of other things that weren't even included in the patch notes. And there's leaks for DLC 1, which gives us more information about the wonder weapons in that map, which is so exciting. And Element 115 is apparently returning as well. We've got a lot to cover today, so hit the, I don't know, subscribe button, like button, you take your pick, and we'll get started. So, on the 12th of June, 2024, a user by the name of Cop for That posted a trailer on YouTube for a custom map that they were working on. It was a remaster for Call of the Dead, but built inside the Black Ops 3 engine using the Black Ops 3 mod tools. And the trailer was really well received. It's got a super positive comment section, it's got a lot of likes on it, and generally, the map does look really cool. Now, the reason that this is relevant is not because the map is coming out on December 5th, but rather because Treyarch seemingly saw that map coming and they were like, we own that actually, and we're gonna make it a prestige reward in Black Ops 6. It's very strange. So the way I found out about this was that Cop for That tweeted saying, my Black Ops 3 remaster for Mob of the Dead has been used as a loading screen in Black Ops 6. And basically, if you get to Prestige 6, you unlock this image.
I oddly hit Prestige 6 today.
A reward in the game, and that image is a direct screenshot out of the trailer that Cop for That posted several months ago. So I read through the comment section, I read through the replies, and they said that Treyarch didn't reach out, Activision didn't reach out, nobody asked permission, nobody gave credit. It just appeared in the game, and that was that. And the crazy thing about this is that technically, that's actually completely valid. Treyarch have a EULA, which is an EULA, an end user license agreement, which all Call of Duty custom mappers and developers basically sign by using the tools deployed by Treyarch when they released the Black Ops 3 mod tools. And also,
which honestly does make sense.
So signed by the user just by playing the game in general. And one of the things that the EULA states is that anything created within the Black Ops 3 mod tools is actually the possession of Activision. Like, it's not something that that person owns, it's actually still...
Now, if you want to know something sketchy, Adobe does the same thing with Photoshop, which is totally messed because it's a totally... We're not using Photoshop's asset, we're using their tools. Whereas in Call of Duty, you're using their tools and their assets. So it's a different story, same kind of thing.
Activision's property because it was their mod tools. And so technically, a screenshot of a fan's fan art, for example, posted on DeviantArt or something like that, wouldn't be okay to just steal and put in the game. But something made in just the mod tools themselves has a different set of rules that apply to it, and they were actually totally legally covered in taking that work and making it their own reward for the Black Ops 6 player base to enjoy. So that's the legal coverage of this and the legal defense of this, but my only gripe with this here is the fact that if they're gonna take a fan's work and put it in the game and make it a reward for other fans to earn, I think it would be so cool if they could just give some credit,
yes,
or at least agree with that. A tip of the hat or a tweet from the Treyarch account or something.
It should have even, if they would have even had like his handle built into it, that would be really cool.
To the fan they had just taken the work from.
Honestly, it would be way smarter of them to do that. Because there's a ton of people who do stuff in Blender for me, for thumbnails, for other people in the community. I worked with a guy who then got hired by, I believe it was Infinity Ward, because his art was so damn good. But imagine if they just took community art that was made in Blender, for example, using character models, and use that for loading screens, use that for calling cards, things along those lines. And all they had to do to pay for that is, instead of paying employees, gave credit to these people and maybe hired some of them as well, like they have done. It would be a better idea for them to do that to begin with, because more people would make stuff.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not saying, wow, they should never do this. At the end of the day, it's their property.
They can
It
do
just
with
is.
what they
But that
want.
doesn't mean that they couldn't say, hey, let's take this as an opportunity to build our own community up here instead of just making it look like we did this ourselves. Like, I feel like if this was a Bungie situation, for example, with Destiny, there's no doubt in my mind that the creator that was having their work repurposed here would have ended up in the TWAB, right? The This Week at Bungie, which is basically a weekly blog post where they spotlight cool stuff in the community and they tip their hat to whether
Call
it's creators or whether it's artists or whether it's cosplayers or whatever, as well as giving a bunch of updates about the game. Like, they use it as an opportunity to just talk to the community a little bit. And I think something Black Ops 6 is actually really missing, and this is a kind of community presence. It doesn't really feel like there is one right now. Like, in previous years, we've had blog posts where they've talked a lot to us, whereas
there was like a 25-year Call of Duty anniversary, and my full story of Alex Mason got featured in it. Other than that, like for big events like that, they don't do things like this. He's right.
This year, they're not talking to us at all. They're actually talking to us the least they possibly can, it feels like, in the patch notes at least, because the patch notes are not dialogue, they're not conversation, they're not opinion pieces in any way, they're just notes. It's literally just changes. It's a changelog. And yes, we get a lot of other blog posts that are very long form, very much here's what we're doing, here's where we're going, etc. when it's like a marketing thing, but it's not an ongoing community kind of cohesion builder or maintainer or anything like that. And I think that's kind of missing right now. And it's there, wherever that missing place is, that I think Cop for That's credit should have been included. I think it would just be so cool because, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody wins. If Treyarch is showcasing people doing cool stuff in the mod tools, that's going to encourage more people to do more cool stuff in the mod tools, which increases the flywheel spinning up for Treyarch, where they get more stuff that they own from nowhere through the labor of other people, strictly because those people are making those things using Treyarch's tools. Like, it's a win-win, so I just don't get why they wouldn't do it. But regardless, I think that it's so freaking cool that Cop for That made something in the mod tools and then it ended up in the actual game. And this is honestly a pipeline that a lot of developers have actually gone on to get hired at Treyarch. Like, there's dozens of devs that started out making custom maps and then ended up getting hired at either Treyarch or Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer, etc. And it's something I think that we should celebrate more. Like, that pipeline is really cool. I would just also like to see Treyarch celebrating that pipeline just as much as the community might want to. So yeah, just food for thought for you, Treyarch. Maybe give Cop for That a little celebratory tweet or something. Like, it would go a long way and it would build a lot of goodwill. Next, there's been a lot of debate and discussion in my Discord and also on my subreddit about whether or not there's an extension to be found of the car Easter egg in Liberty Falls. This all started the other day when I believe it was Ghosted posted this TikTok about finding some kind of car part popping out of the car boot when they did the egg. And since then, there's been a lot of people that have investigated it further to try and figure out what's going on. Now, my personal position on this is a sort of no-nonsense position, which is that I think that this is a lot of people chasing something which doesn't actually exist. I hate to be that guy, but just in what I'm seeing from the video, it looks to me like there's a launcher that is falling on the floor there, and one of the sort of pieces of ammunition of the launcher or something is falling next to it, and then it's just disappearing after a few seconds and despawning.
I thought he picked it up.
It's just a part of a car, and Treyarch have just coded it so that there's a bit of a car that will kind of appear each time. But it doesn't look to me like anything is being picked up. It's not picked up in the way that other things in the game are picked up, so there's a little bit of sort of lack of cohesion there with how the game works in general. And just overall, I'm just not getting the feel that this is an Easter egg that goes further, but I'd love to be wrong about this. So if you've got a conflicting theory, please post it in the comments down below. There's also been some discussion on my Discord about this blue generator on top of the bank in Liberty Falls. And people have been chasing a lot of other Easter eggs to do with the birds, for example, and also the deer heads, but
the birds is one I find interesting because they seem like they're there on purpose.
As of yet, they haven't been solved, so I'll keep you posted on any progress that is found with all of those. Next, we've all already been theorizing that the Mimic is going to be coming back at some point during Black Ops 6 because the Mimic is in the campaign, so is a Disciple, I believe, at one point, and also Treyarch really loves reusing enemy types, so why wouldn't the Mimic come back? And it would make sense for it to be in Citadel Day more, and
They need them to come back because I think people are getting sick of killing
Citadel
Manglers.
Daymore would be a pretty likely place for it, seeing as we've already seen a teaser for a new enemy type, which sort of looks like a new version of a Mimic. Now, Asian Power Supply has tweeted out a bunch of information about DLC 1 Citadel Daymore that's leaked from the game code, and one of the things that they've confirmed is that there is a Mimic mentioned in there. But that's not the most interesting new enemy type by any means, because there's also, get this, mention of a Mecha Klaus. And Klaus is already a robot that we're very familiar with from Cold War, who walked into a portal into the Dark Ether holding a nuke and presumably blew up. But Klaus has also come back as an operator in Black Ops 6. And so now the idea of us seeing a Mecha Klaus in the map is very interesting. And this isn't just like a singular Mecha Klaus. This is a generic enemy type, just like Manglers, Amalgams, Abominations, etc. So we might be fighting against armies of Mecha Klaus, like plural, in the map at some point. Maybe on specific rounds, or just in general as we fight through certain areas, or it's every round, maybe, who knows? So are you excited about the idea of fighting more robotic enemies that aren't just regular zombies, or does that kind of scare you a little bit? I mean, I guess they did say the map was going to be terrifying. Maybe that's what they meant. More Manglers. Oh, God. Another of Asian Power Supply, or Alan III's leaks here, comes in the form of the Wonder Weapon in Citadel Daymore, which is not just one Wonder Weapon, it's apparently a 4-variant, 4-element Wonder Weapon, just like we've seen with bows over the years, with staves, and now it seems we're gonna have it with swords. This has been the dream of the zombies community ever since the map was announced, ever since we knew it was set in Avalon as well, and all of the Arthurian legend that would go alongside something being in Avalon. Like, that just gives so much room to this idea, this theory, this fantasy almost of elemental swords based on different elemental variations of Excalibur. And it seems like that might actually be the direction we're going in.
It's Excalibur?
Asian Power Supply has tweeted about an umbral blade. Now, umbral in the physics context, let's say, using my physics degree background just a little bit here, is basically a certain part of the shadow cast by a celestial body when illuminated by another celestial body. So as you can see on this little diagram, you've got the sun, you've got Earth, let's say, and then you've got the Umbra, and you have the Penumbra, and then you also have the Antumbra, but nobody really likes the Antumbra. Boo the Antumbra. So Umbra is essentially this darkest part of this.
Milo is probably so fired up that he gets to use his physics degree right now. Like, I was a paramedic, and I don't get to use that. So I get where he's coming from here.
Okay. And so the idea that we're getting like a darkest part of a shadow blade. Oh, yes. I need it now. I need it now. That's so freaking exciting. I can't wait to see the trailer for this map. Like, it's going to be incredible.
Should be soon.
And just generally, like, Treyarch is cooking right now, honestly. Overall, as much as the exploit fixes have been prioritized.
It's not going to be in this video, but they fixed the movement when you're reloading in zombies as well.
More than I would like compared to the fixes for game issues that have been going on since day one. And as much as I'd like their communications to improve a little bit and stuff like that, at the end of the day, we're in a really good place. This game is really good. So the idea of us having a really good game with a really good DLC 1 is music to my ears. So yeah, bring it, Treyarch. Next, let's talk a little bit about that patch that I mentioned, right? Those secret things in that patch. So they did this second patch last night,
which is super
after they'd
weird.
already done one patch. And I think, honestly, what happened is they did the first patch and they broke a load of stuff and the game became nearly unplayable for some people. And so they were like, you know what? We kind of have to stay up late fixing this.
I don't think so first of all, they didn't stay up late. The second patch was released at 6 p.m. like 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is where they are. It's almost as this is planned, and really in that first update, nothing crazy broke. It wasn't
tonight, guys.
That wasn't the
that's where the second patch came from. Now, these are the patch notes that they published, and there's stuff that's not in the patch notes that we'll get to in a second, but just for the stuff that they did publicize, they've made some global movement changes that are actually really cool. So they've reduced the minimum sprint time required to perform dive to prone or slide actions, and they've addressed an issue that could result in you being unable to sprint when performing several actions within a short amount of time. So you'd basically get a massive sort of stun lock if you ended up doing those actions all at once. And they say these changes should result in more responsive movements with fewer occurrences where players attempt to dive to prone or slide and instead crouch. We'll continue to assess and identify areas for improved fluidity with Omni movement. And this is really fantastic news because a lot of the Warzone, especially community, and also the multiplayer guys, have been saying the movement in this game has a lot of potential, but there's just weird things holding it back right now. And we'd really love to see those changed. And this is a step in a positive direction in that regard. However, I want to just go out on a limb here, and you guys can tell me if I'm capping and I'm crazy, but I kind of low-key think that the Cold War movement for zombies was better than the movement in this game. I'm just putting it out there. Being able to plink myself off of railings and stuff like that in Cold War was really satisfying. And in this game, so often I'll try and do the same thing with a railing and it'll send me backwards into a horde of zombies. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Like, this is ridiculous. And it just sucks. It's so much less reliable and it's so much less fun because of it. And so
yeah, I disagree
overall,
with that,
sure, the movement is fine, but I actually think that Cold War slightly edges this one out as having a better movement system. But let me know if you agree in the comments down below. And I'm talking for zombies here specifically, just to be clear. Now, there's also some multiplayer stuff here,
zombies, but
yeah, whatever.
Definitely not multiplayer.
In zombies, though, they addressed an issue where zombies could spawn indefinitely, so no more infinite spawn glitches. They also addressed an issue where players would not be removed from a chopper gunner when starting the main quest final encounter. All right, fine. And then in directed mode, and this is pretty crazy, exfil will now be triggered at the 5th hour of a directed mode match due to a performance issue. And they've addressed an issue that allowed gobblegums to persist indefinitely. But this one is the crazy one, because what this is in front of our very eyes is Treyarch saying your solo zombies match that is now forced to be online, right? You don't have a choice. That match has an expiration time. And it's not a big deal, okay? It isn't a big deal at all in its current form, because at the end of the day, if you're spending 5 hours in directed mode, what are you doing? Like, you're just grinding camos, and that's fine, but it's not the end of the world to have to spin down that server and then spin up a new one.
It takes 15 minutes to set up in the same way. It's not a big deal.
And just have you spend 20 minutes getting set back up again and then keeping on grinding your camos. Like, it's not deep. This is not going to mean that anybody's play experience...
See, when I saw this, this meant to me that the way you can grind camos currently is going to stay that way, which is great. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is them making it so that on Liberty Falls, the elites that you can force to spawn in will no longer count as elites. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
...is interrupted. Like, literally 0 people will run into this and be like, this ruined the game for me. 0 people. So it is fine. But I am not thinking about present term only. I am thinking long term, right? And the reason a couple of months ago, I made a massive whiteboard video about the fact that the game was online only. I did that because I knew that being online only, as much as it has benefits, and it does have real benefits, it also has real negatives. And if poor approaches are taken, and if Activision does what Activision does, then over the next several years, what is currently not a problem is going to become a problem. For example, what are we going to do when Activision says, yeah, actually, it doesn't make financial sense anymore to support the servers for Black Ops 6? Then what? Oh, yeah. Then you can't play the game anymore at all. You can't play the campaign. You can't play the multiplayer. You can't play the zombies. You're screwed, right? The thing.
Meanwhile, they're not willing to spend extra money to, I mean, okay, if we're being honest, they've never closed down any servers for Call of Duty. Like even old Call of Duties. That being said, some of those worked off of peer-to-peer as well. So maybe I'm wrong.
That you bought a license to is now a license to sit on a main menu and not get any further because you can't log into the servers. And I'm just cynical enough about Activision to think that that is a likely scenario to happen in some number of years. I don't know if it will be 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. I don't know. But at some point, this game is going to become unplayable. And that is a loss for the zombies community. And this, weirdly, this 5-hour time limit in directed mode is actually the first meaningful step that I think we've seen them take in that direction. It's a tiny step, but it means something.
Honestly, I hope that if that ever happens, they put in an update where you can play it offline.
Because it's the first one. And I, as an endless cynic with an endless capacity for scrutiny of Activision and trying to see through the BS that they constantly spout to try and figure out what's actually true and on the money, I can see here in the future, just trust me on this, just believe me on this. I've been around this game for 15 years now. I know how these things work. Give it another 15 years, we're going to be saying I'm right here. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it, but
It's possible that he's not.
We have problems in our future for Black Ops 6, but there are ways out, so we don't need to worry about it too much right now. Now, they also have their classic various stability fixes, which means nothing. Like, this is in every single patch. You can just ignore it. It's like, it may as well not be there in the notes. But for once, it actually did do something. So we've all been running into this issue with the crafting table, right? Over the last week, where it would eat up your salvage.
It works now.
I went into game and tested this earlier today. I think it's fixed. And I think that they didn't include it in the patch notes, which makes me think that it might still be a problem in certain scenarios or with certain tacticals or something, but not with others. So I crafted 2 decoys and it was fine. Maybe there's something else that causes it to bug out. But at least just from my own test, we can see that progress is being made in this area. So that's good, and Treyarch should be applauded for that. So thank you guys. However, there are a bunch of other issues that are still issues. So after I got done glazing Treyarch on the timeline a little bit, because apparently I'm only negative, and so I feel like some positivity is warranted. So just to run through a couple of those now for visibility and to try and encourage Treyarch to actually make some changes here. I said thank you. I was courteous about the fact that we got a second patch, but then I said, hold up guys, can we just try and fix a couple more of these things? Vermin rounds, they're still taking way too long.
Agreed.
That's been in the game since day one. Why has it not been changed? Wild. Crafting table, they've addressed it now. Amazing. Ammo is inconsistent. There's a weird ammo reloading bug thing that they're working on. But more important than that, I think, is the fact that there's a bunch of challenges that still do not track. And this affects a huge number of players. So it'd be really good.
I believe those are mainly calling card
get
challenges.
Some proper attention paid to this. And then also server crashes. And this is something that loads of you guys were tweeting me. You were putting it in my Discord. You were putting it on Reddit. Like, it was everywhere, saying that since the first patch yesterday, the game's been significantly less stable. You've been getting to the Nathan boss fight and you've been crashing. You've just been overall lagging out. Some of you haven't even been able to get past the main menu. And this is still happening as well, which I really want to draw some attention to, because I think Treyarch thinks they've fixed this, but they didn't. If you get sucked from the front by an amalgam, it will take your dying wish. Like, it'll just take it away for no reason. And you'll be put to 1 HP for no reason. So this really needs fixing as well. Now, on top of everything else, the next thing I'm about to say to you is perhaps the most crazy. This might actually be a turning point in the zombie storyline right now that will totally change the next 12 months. Like, this is a very big deal. Maybe. Hard to say, but let's investigate and figure this out. So another leak from Asian Power Supply, also known as Alan III, says the following. Control. A meteorite has broken apart above the area, scattering fragments of element 115 across the AO. Each fragment is highly volatile and must be destroyed. The guild is on site attempting to retrieve.
Oh, so the guild is going to be a part of zombies. Okay, actually, we already knew that.
Every fragment and eliminate any threats in the area. So what this tells me is the following. I don't care if this is for Warzone, if it's for multiplayer. Hell, it could be for campaign DLC. I don't care. And the reason I don't care is that the Call of Duty universe is unified now. So no matter where it is in the game, it's canon. And if the guild is sourcing element 115, the guild happens to be one of the rival
working with Pantheon
crime families that also oppose the French syndicate, who our characters are about to go and butt heads with when they get from Terminus all the way to Avalon. So the guild might be present in Avalon, just like the French syndicate are, and the guild have 115. So does this mean that the elemental wonder weapons in Citadel des Morts are going to be 115 infused? Does this mean that we've now got Ethereum, but we've also got 115 as a separate thing? Like, it is mind-blowing. The ramifications of this are so huge. And it's interesting because 115 started showing up even in Modern Warfare Zombies, for example. Like, there were 115 Easter eggs. It was very weird. We've also seen the ray gun say 115 on it now, where previously it didn't. So they're bringing 115 in a more meaningful way. The question is, are they going to lean into that as a new story choice?
Maybe.
Are they going to basically say, all right, we got to the end of the Ether story.
The way that Treyarch does their stuff lately, I could see them doing this as like a minor thing. As like almost like a mini Easter egg within the story.
We went left and we said no more 115, right? Cleansed, done. We have Ethereum, we have our new version of it, it's sanitized, it's nice, but that's that. But are they now going to say, okay, we turned left, now we're going to turn right. Like, we zigged, but now we're going to zag, and we're going to bring it back. And that's going to be why Prima Materia is coming back as well, and Chaos is coming back too. Like, are we going to get a kind of melding of all of these timelines together here? I'm so excited, and I actually just did a full playthrough of the original Call of Duty Zombies maps, going through all the story of World at War, Nataranta and Varuk, Shinonuma, Deriz, diving through a lot of nostalgia, but also a lot of those original 115 Easter eggs. And that's linked right here for you to click through to, and I really encourage you to, because it's...
I wonder if he did that on purpose because of this, or if that just happened to work out for him. But yeah, MrRoflWaffles made a video for me. Like, clearly this is for me. He's pointing at me right now. And he always makes really good videos. Like there was a while where people said I didn't think I liked his videos. I always really liked his videos, even when they were ridiculousness for his like event before the game came out. I loved every minute of it, and he's been killing it since launch. So go check his channel out if you're not there already. And I think he's excited about zombies. I think we can all agree with that.